Hey, it's Marek. It's not just a podcast, it's a revelation. No, just kidding. But this is how large language models, this is how all those chatbots sound these days, especially if you ask them to write something like a LinkedIn post or an X post where you want to sound like an influencer. So I wrote a post about it. Today's podcast is more of a rant, but it does have a couple of lessons toward the end of it. More of a rant about people that I decided to call Slopfluencers. Slopfluencers. And that's what I called the newest episode as well. I start with a story that I love that I wrote about in the book, The Economy of Algorithms, as well. Joshua Browder, the CEO of DoNotPay.com. DoNotPay.com, that startup in the US, which offers algorithmic lawyers or robotic lawyers, though they're not allowed to call them lawyers anymore. Back in 2023, Joshua Browder tweeted the following text. I have it on my screen. Do Not Pay will pay any lawyer or person $1 million with an upcoming case in front of the United States Supreme Court to wear AirPods and let our robot lawyer argue the case by repeating exactly what it says. I found it fascinating. What Joshua Browder was asking for was the opposite of a robot. A robot is a machine that's meant to follow orders given by a human. Joshua Browder was asking for a human that would follow orders given by a machine, the opposite of a robot. That didn't happen. They didn't get a human into Supreme Court with an AirPod in their ears simply because the Supreme Court in the United States does not allow any technology to be brought into the court. Also, Joshua Browder was then threatened by the bar, by lawyers, with 6 months in jail. They had to change how they refer to their services, all sorts of things. That's not my point. I wanted to sort of highlight this phenomenon where Joshua Browder was looking for people who would argue a case by repeating exactly what the machine said. This was 3 years ago, just weeks after the public debut of ChatGPT. Happy birthday, ChatGPT. You've changed the world quite a lot in the last 3 years. Back then, this particular request sounded totally absurd. Now, these days, kind of a different story. Slopfluencers. The word slop it became Macquarie Dictionary's 2025 word of the year, specifically the word AI slop. That kind of meaningless, vanilla, bland type of content that we see, that we receive whenever we, write a short prompt and say something like, "Hey, Claude, write me an engaging LinkedIn post about the importance of human agency." What we'll get is the equivalent of AI slop if we don't engage into any sculpting, any refinement, any processing of that content. So AI slop, the word of the year 2025 by Macquarie Dictionary. The term is also used in business. We are now reading about the AI work slop. At Harvard Business Review, there's a very interesting article about how AI work slop, this low quality content, is actually generating much more work because now people have to spend time cleaning up, fixing that work slop. I wrote about it in Pareto Flip, where I said we need to spend much more time on curation, human curation of AI-generated content these days. I had a bit of a positive framing on that, but the reality is, it's having us spend more time right now. So I wanted to talk in this particular recording about not just AI slop, not just AI work slop, but about the people who spread AI slop. And that's my rant part. That's my warning part. And that's a part that leads to a couple of lessons. The rise of slopfluencers, people who publish those posts that all start to sound the same. I have an example in my post. The tell in those posts is no, not M dashes, no, not the word dwell. That's so 2023. That's so 2024. Right now, it's the X isn't Y, it's Z or it's Z, depending which part of the world you come from. Construction every few sentences. Here's a real example. When I was writing the post, I literally just went on LinkedIn and scrolled for about 12, 15 seconds. That's what I found. AI isn't destroying the university, it's exposing it. That's how the post starts. And then it goes, the current affairs piece on AI destroying the university is worth reading, not because it proves AI is dangerous, but because it shows how hollow the current educational model already is. AI didn't break that system, it just turned the lights on. And students aren't lazy, they're rational. Can you see how we're swapping between the sort of the negative and the positive? AI isn't destroying the university, it's exposing it, not because it proves something, but because it shows something. AI didn't break the system, it just turned the lights on, and students aren't lazy, they're rational. Like, how can you not see that? In the very same post, you continue, and you have texts like, AI isn't a shortcut, it's a force multiplier. Universities won't stay relevant by doing something, they'll stay relevant by doing something else. AI isn't destroying real education, it's revealing how much, and so on and so on. You see the pattern now? I promise you, you won't be able to unsee it. If you go to LinkedIn, X, Facebook as well, keep scrolling. Give me 30 seconds. Within 30 seconds, you're going to find a post like that everywhere. Now, of course, I cannot prove that these authors didn't write every word themselves. It's pretty much impossible. But the point is, it's sloppy, and it's pretty much indistinguishable from a default prompt response. So when you type in a basic prompt, you often get that. By the way, a really, really interesting question for researchers, for academics. Why do those large language models behave like that? Why do they generate this type of responses? Obviously, they learned on human-generated content. It doesn't feel like we have that much of this type of language in general available to those models. But hey, perhaps that's the case. Now, the reason I wrote this particular post is because, I had this situation where I was, again, browsing through social media. I might be spending a bit too much time on social media. And I found a video by a particular keynote speaker that I used to admire. I was at a very, very big festival, business innovation type of festival. I saw him on stage. Fantastic speech, really. It was great. I took notes. I sent the notes to my team. I walked away impressed. And then a few days ago, I watched that video, and it was perfectly delivered. No ums, no ahs, just great. I watched the whole thing, 90 seconds or so. And after 90 seconds, I had no idea what he'd actually said. And then it hit me. I played it again, and I just heard him say things like, AI fear isn't a skills gap, it's self-doubt. That's not the exact quote. I want to preserve his identity or protect his identity. That's not fear, that's engagement. This type of language in the recording. And then I realized that the whole video sounded like he was reading an LLM's output aloud. He's an influencer, certainly, but I don't know, maybe he's becoming a Slopfluencer. So, look, you know that I believe that this technology is really, really good for us if we know how to use it properly. All that I'm doing here is I'm trying to point you to a situation or an outcome that you just don't want to happen. So how do you prevent becoming a Slopfluencer or becoming somebody who spreads slop, AI slop, even if you're not on social media? I have a very, very simple 3-step rule to working with large language models on content. It's literally just 3 words: draft, dialogue, and deslop. In the draft part, Now, this is my process. I'm suggesting maybe it works for you as well. In the draft part, I create an ugly first version without AI. Sometimes even on just a piece of paper, I end up writing it down on a computer later on. I get my thoughts onto the page. This might be messy, incomplete, but at least I get the thoughts onto the page. This has to be mine, all right? It's very, very important. Elsewhere, I talked about the butterfly effect. When a tiny bot flaps its tiny wings at the beginning of your creative process, you don't really know what comes out at the end. So you want to protect those first steps of your creative process. You don't want to outsource your thinking. Now, so that's the draft part. Then you enter the dialogue part. When you take all your notes, imagine how long some of my prompts are. Right? You take all of those notes, drop them into a prompt, and then you start working on it with an LLM. You sculpt it. You make it look, sound nicer. You make it flow better. So I work with Claude quite a lot on content of my posts, and I ask Claude to identify weak arguments, spot logical gaps, and suggest tighter phrasing. All right, so that's the sculpting, and this part takes a lot of time, and that's also the part where curation comes in. So that's the Pareto flip post that I talked about. And then after that dialogue stage, I go into the de-slop mode. In the de-slop mode, I clean the content once again, looking for all those weird statements. I don't care about M dashes. I don't care about words like delve and so on. That's okay as long as it sort of is my voice. But I am on the lookout for those weird kind of Slopfluencer like phrases, and believe me, there's a lot of that. What Slopfluencers do not understand is that our value isn't in producing more of average content, it's in producing the unusual, those weird angles, the insights that come from our experience, from seeing a problem in a way no one else has. You might have noticed that that's exactly what I'm trying to do here, really show you different perspective on things when I don't rant like today. So use AI all you want, just don't forget to draft, dialogue, and then de-slop all of your content. By the way, when I was writing the post, of course, Claude suggested the following sentences. Back then, it seemed absurd. Today, it looks like a prophecy. It's not very obvious that there's a negative and positive, but it's there. The Slopfluencer's mistake isn't using AI, it's surrendering the one thing AI can't provide, an original perspective. Your value isn't in producing more of that, it's in the friction. This isn't just your pet peeve, it's a recognized phenomenon. Can you see, in a short post, I had several suggestions like that from Claude. Don't fall for the trap of AI slop promotion of what Slopfluencers do. Draft, dialogue, and de-slop, and stay curious.